Merry Christmas, my friends. Janae Daniels here with the School to Homeschool podcast. I just wanted to hop on and say Merry Christmas. And I hope this week is not too stressful for you. As a matter of fact, this is going to sound terrible, but I hope that you have set your expectations so low. So low. Because when you do that, everything is great. But when we have high expectations, we get bitterly disappointed. I remember hearing a marriage therapist say that several years ago. He said, people always say, communication is the most important thing in a marriage and that you have good communication and da, da, da. And he goes, that's not true. The key to a good marriage is that you set expectations for each other and then meet those expectations, because that's where conflict comes, is that there's unmet expectations and hurt and all those things come as a result of unmet expectations. He's like, so if you're clear about your expectations, um, and you know what your expectations are and they know it, you know what each other's expectations are, then, and then you fulfill those expectations, then things are fine. Now that's very simplified and it might be too simplistic, but I found early on in my marriage and becoming a mom of two stepkids, many years ago, that I had really high expectations for things like Christmas and Mother's Day. And when those expectations were not met, I was bitterly disappointed and I was hurt. Now, those expectations are so low that I always have a good Mother's Day. Because I'm like, okay, I'm expecting their kids are probably going to fight. Um, here's the list of things that are not going to happen or that are going to happen, expected. And so when anything happens that's out of the norm, I'm like, oh, what a pleasant surprise. That's so great. But it took me a lot of years to get to that point. And so I was talking to my 17-year-old son about this a few days ago. We were talking because my kids they're a little bit different in that, they only get 3 presents. I've told them since they were little, baby Jesus only got 3 presents. You're not better than him. You don't get more than 3 presents. Although now, like, they started giving to each other. Like before, I'd give them one. My husband and I would give them one. Santa would give them one. And then they draw one of their siblings out of the hat and they'd give a big present to that person. And now they like to give to all of the siblings. And so they give one big present to that to the sibling that they chose, and then they give like little gifts to their other siblings. Like I have a 12-year-old who loves Takis, which are a form of chips, and so his sister's giving him a bag of Takis. Little presents that don't cost very much. But as far as big presents go, they only get 3, and I don't do electronics. I don't do video games. And we don't do super duper expensive gifts. Like if they really want something really expensive, they'll get that themselves. Like they have to earn the money to buy it. So Christmas in the Daniels home is pretty simple. And yet my kids are really happy. Like, they love Christmas. They're filled with wonder. Whatever gifts they get, they're so grateful for. And so I feel like that's one thing that I've done right in my parenting. There's so many things I've done wrong, but that's one thing I'm like, okay, we did this right, because they're full of gratitude whenever they're given any gift. And so Joshua, my 17-year-old, we were talking, and I said, well, what do you want for Christmas? Because again, my kids don't ask for much. They'll occasionally ask for a couple things here and there, but generally they're like, I'm pretty satisfied. Like they're pretty content with what they have. And Joshua said, Mom, I was thinking about it and I have everything that I could ever want or need. And I'm grateful for that. He's like, and, you taught me this a long time ago, like to keep expectations really low, and then you're always surprised pleasantly. And I have taken that to heart over the last few years, and it's true. When expectations are low, everything is fun and delightful and a great surprise. He said, so I don't expect my siblings to get me anything, huge. I don't expect I just don't have high expectations. And I just know that whatever is given will be given from the heart. And so I'll take it. And I appreciate you teaching me at a young age to keep expectations low. Now, some of you might be like, that is terrible. But I'm telling you, it has saved me many a teary Mother's Day and Christmas, anniversary. And thankfully, I do have a husband who he takes great care of me, and he loves to surprise me with wonderful things. And at Christmas, he's always taking good care of me. There's an Instagrammer who posted like everyone got presents at Christmas except for her and her husband, and I was like, oh, that's so sad. So thankfully, that is something I'm thankful for. But back to the expectations thing, I had an old roommate who said that she's like, your husband sends you flowers just randomly. I wish my husband would do that. And I said, well, have you told your husband that you want random flowers throughout the year? And she's like, no. And I said, okay, so you have to communicate that. Like, my husband didn't just think of that. When we were dating and courting and early in our marriage, I brought up like, flowers matter to me, not all the time, and definitely not on Valentine's Day because they're way overpriced. Wait a couple days after Valentine's Day when they're cheaper. But the I I know, like, it would mean something to me if every now and again, every few months, not every few weeks, but every few months, you surprise me with flowers. And it doesn't have to be a spectacular bouquet. And he took that to heart. And sometimes I'll remind him. We've been married almost 19 years. And so I'm like, I still like flowers sometimes. And so there needs to be, like, her husband didn't know what he didn't know. And once she told him, then he started doing it. He didn't know what her expectation was. And then once he did, he was able to fulfill that. But even in cases like that, I still keep my expectations low, and it keeps everything as a surprise and beautiful, because anything above and beyond that is great. I posted one Mother's Day. It's a video, and it was real. Like, I just thought, this is what's going on. I'm just going to record it so that people can see truth, because like the reality of life. And there was all these people posting happy Mother's Day, and I love my mom. And I did that as well. I'm like, thankful for my mom and the women in my life and my mother-in-law and my sisters and my sister-in-laws and, all the people. But as we were leaving church, my husband and I drove separately. I took all the kids with me, and they were fighting like crazy. So I just took a video and said, happy Mother's Day. I hope it's good. And you see them in the background, and they are full on like, and just keeping it real. It was not staged. They were fighting. And I'm like, I expected that they would fight today. And here we are. I know there's some people that are like, no, if you expect better of your kids, this is not what I'm talking about, right? I'm not talking about like seeing your kids as wonderful human beings. But what I am saying is that when it comes to holidays and other things, if we can just assume that it's going to be another day, and anything above and beyond that is a delight, then it will be. Then it will be. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying expect the worst from your kids. I'm not. Please don't. Or that I, expect that my kids are not going to turn out as anything, because the kids will live up to the expectations. But I am saying, like, for holidays and for times that are very emotionally charged, if we can keep our thoughts simple, and again, that those expectations simple, then everything's a delight. So with that, I hope you have a Merry Christmas. We've got a great year coming up, 2025. I'm excited for some of the guests that we'll have towards the end of January. There's a few things I want to talk about. There will be shorter podcasts, but I'm super excited for our upcoming guests, because we have a lineup of some amazing people. So with that, mamas, papas, grandmas, grandpas, you are doing so much better than you think you are. I hope you're able to have a still and a mostly peaceful and a mostly restful Christmas this year. I hope you do get some rest and sleep and that you're not up all night long doing all the things. I hope you get some peace and rest and stillness and are able to focus on our Savior Jesus Christ, who lives and who died for us. And if he didn't die for us, really his birth wouldn't matter that much to us today. I love you all. Love him too. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. You got this. You're doing better than you think you are. We'll talk next week. Merry Christmas.